Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Achana for Shavuos. With Hashem finishing off the moment today or tomorrow. Okay, so basically we were asking, why was the Torah given Har Sinai? The first answer, first of all, we said the Torah was given on Har Sinai was because it was humble and it was small. This is all the other mountains that they wanted the Torah to be given on them. They weren't humble and small. They had big egos. And so it's teaching us that the Torah is given on something that's humble and low. So the question then, the question becomes, so 1 second, why was the Torah given on any mountain? Because ultimately, for saying Torah like being humble and small, a mountain's not humble, a mountain's a mountain. So why was the Torah given on any mountain? The answer we gave was because ultimately it has to be a balance. You can't be just totally humble without any self-worth. Like we said yesterday, we quoted from a different place, different mimer, and from the Mittler, just like the kernel, that the chaff on the kernel, when it grows, it needs to be there. You need to have 1/64th of ego, meaning it's just enough ego that will motivate you. Because like we said in the mimer, that if you don't have any ego, healthy ego we're talking about, if you don't have any of that, so then you're going to say, me, ani, amani, who am I? What am I? What is all worth that I'm doing? What I'm doing is worthless. I'm worthless. And it's just going to be negative spiral. It's never going to get you anywhere. You're never get any fun. So the lesson that the Torah is teaching us, why the Torah was specifically given on a mountain, is we have to recognize it has to be a mountain. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges people have in the Chassidus. They miss this point. And so they get caught up with all these ideas and also just a self-talk, that we're not this. I'm not a big chassid. I'm not this. I'm not I'm not an FFB or whatever it is we say to ourselves. I can't do these things, or it's not shaykh to me. So you have to learn from the Har Sinai, the lessons teaching you have to be a mountain. I can't be all these things, like the story of the Rebbe that we brought. That this guy complains to the Rebbe that he has a big ego. So the Rebbe said, "What's the problem? So you think you're a big chassid? So be a big chassid. What do you think you're a big learn, big lamdan, a big learner? Be a big learner. What's the problem? We have to strive for these things, and that's the healthy self-esteem that we're talking about here, and that's what the Torah is teaching. You have to have a healthy self-esteem, but it has to be in check ultimately. That was the first answer. Well, yeah, the second answer. We'll go back from the second answer. End of page 7, starting page 8. This is the idea of the anavim, the humble ones will gather with Hashem and will be simcha. Now, generally, he has his chazkus, agvas nefesh. Normally, being happy it's associated. Well, it's nefesh b'hamis. It's been taken care of my needs, and my ego gets pulled up, and then I get happy, which is opposite of v'yasvu anavim. They gathered the humble ones. This is about ego. Ella, but this type of happiness, this type of raising up, is nimshach min ha'anava v'ashifus. Comes about from the humbleness. Now we're going to discuss this concept, like it says in the end of Parak Lamed Daled of Tanya. How you have happiness on one side and unhappiness on the other side, and we're going to talk about it. We'll see. It says Tanya, say Parak Lamed Daled, end of the Parak Lamed Daled, end of chapter 34. By the nefesh b'hamis, when we look at our body, when we look at ourselves, at the part of ourselves, we have to first of all define ourselves as two people, so to speak. One is about nefesh b'hamis, one nefesh l'kis. You look at nefesh b'hamis, and you look at the desires that it has and what it wants. I don't want you to stay up late. I don't want you not to get up on time. I don't want you to eat junk food. I don't want you to be not nice to people and not care about Torah mitzvahs. So it bothers me. I don't like it. I'm unhappy about it. So that's nivaz ve'enov. It's very, you feel very bad about himself since they're constantly pushing him out to physicality instead of striving to connect to Hashem. And you realize that instead of connecting to Hashem with what you want to really do, you're not doing that and you're getting pulled away. You're unhappy about that. But at the same time, you can be happy. Why? That together with all these issues that I have, I still have a nefesh kiss. And I have this nefesh kiss that it strives to be connected to God, and it gives me life, and it gives me life force. And look over there in Perek Lamed Daled Tanya. We'll bring it down soon. What you see here is that it's an important part of our life that we have to be able to be honest with ourselves and recognize where we're faulting, but not define ourselves by that fault. Because that's nefesh Bahamas. But I have a nefesh kiss, and I don't have a nefesh kiss, and nefesh kiss is holy and it's pure and it's connected, and it gives me life force. And I'm able to connect to that. Let me come and connect with that. And this that it says in the end, being that in Hashem with happiness, in quoting, but it's a different maimer from, of course, look at it here. The Adrabah, that on the contrary, what it teaches over there is called Mash Yamik Vinyan Christos Atzmoi, the more that you look at the lowness of yourself and you see how your animal soul is taking charge and what it's doing, will be very disgusting in your eyes. Then well, then your happiness when you learn Torah will be even greater. Now, seemingly, why would it be greater if you're so down about the reality of seeing a situation? It's because when you realize that on one hand, I want to do these things, but then when I go daven, I'm davening. So what we a lot of times we look at it as like, what are you seriously? You're trying to daven now? Who do you think you are? I know who you are. I know what you were doing before. What do you mean? You didn't say brachas, whatever. You didn't even wash your hands properly. You didn't bench yesterday. You're gonna come daven now, avodah like a holy Jew. Who do you think you are? But what we're saying is what you meant to look at it is the opposite way. Look how beautiful it is. I get a chance to daven. I get a chance to connect my nefesh kiss. I get a chance to do the right thing. I get a chance to daven now. Oh, I get a chance to learn. And we can't count. We are not allowed to say to ourselves, what are you being so happy about that you learned today? You should have learned for the last 6 months. Where were you 6 months ago? For the whole last 6 months, you haven't been here. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, I got to connect with nefesh kiss. It's so amazing. I'm so glad that nefesh kiss of mine that's there was brought out a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and therefore, like we said, that your learning of Torah will be even more enjoyable. And this is what it means. Specifically, the humble ones will connect, will have this simcha. It's because you're being humble over recognizing the situation that even though it's not a good situation, but I have nefesh kiss and I'm able to connect with that brings you up. And that humility that's caused by recognizing what you're holding can raise you up to even higher level. He gives a little footnote over here about Tanya 34. In chapter 34, the Alter Rebbe concludes a lengthy explanation on how to serve Hashem with joy. In chapter 26, 27, he explains that we should be joyous at all times in Hashem's service, since only with the energy, joy will one be able to overcome the Yetzer Hara and serve Hashem with proper zest. Like it says in 26, 27, you have to serve Hashem simcha. You have to be in a happy mindset, a happy mood. It's very important as Chassidim. Well, one of the main things that the Baal Shem brought out, that we have to be b'simcha. And serving Hashem b'simcha is very important. If it's a checklist and it's a hassle and I got to do all these things, I got to do these things, then you're missing the point. It's meant to be b'simcha. So that's what he talks about in chapter 26, 27. In chapter 28 and 31, he explains how to deal with the fact that the ego and coarseness of the animal soul encompasses the godly soul, and don't let the person experience the joy hidden in his soul. And in 28 to 31, he's showing how the animal soul is getting in the way of experiencing this joy. He explains that the person needs to refine the ego and coarseness by having a system of making a proper accounting of where he's holding in the service of Hashem and just how far, of course, he is from his proper path that Hashem wants. And so he also explains over there in 28 to 31, recognizing what you're holding versus where you should be. This is a very important part of life. If you want to know, no one succeeded without knowing where they wanted to go. It's very important to have a defined goal. In terms of avodah Hashem, you have to know what does it look like to serve Hashem properly, And then you have to look and know where you're holding. I'm not get depressed about it, but recognize where it is. I could be over here. I need to be over here, and let me fill this gap. But if I don't know where over here is, I don't know where my service of Hashem is meant to be. I don't have defined goals of where it is I'm meant to be in my service of Hashem. So then I can never get there. When someone thinks about how lowly and coarse the ego and desire the animal souls are, and how much does he really work on himself to become refined and sensitive, so when we look at that, the situation and what we're actually holding, what we're actually doing, then his ego should begin to loosen up and allow some expression of his godly soul to enter his consciousness. And then recognizing that I'm not even connecting what I'm supposed to, that should have mavatu, should push you to a situation where you'll not let the nefesh kiss come and speak up a little bit. Now we can come back full circle. If the goal of the entire process is that we should experience the joy of his godly soul, that's the whole purpose. We should feel the joy of the nefesh kiss. And how can he do that if he's focused on how much he should be unhappy about his spiritual situation? So one hand, we're saying you have to be happy mitzvah the nefesh kiss, that he's connected to Hashem, he has to do Torah mitzvahs. On the other hand, we're also talking about how you have to be humble over the fact of where you're holding inside the nefesh of Bahamas. So how can you be happy inside at the same time? How can he be expected to be happy about Hashem and sad about his spiritual exile at the same time? The answer to this is chapter 34, where he explains that since the joy is from the godly soul and the sadness is from the animal soul, and each soul is separate, we have like two separate people within us. So it is possible to have both feelings to be expressed in his consciousness at the same time. Not only are they not a contradiction, but on the contrary, the very brokenness of the animal soul's ego is what allows the person to experience the joy of his godly soul. Recognizing and being really broken over the reality of where you're holding is not going to pull you down from being experiencing the joy, but it helps with the joy. Because when as much as you feel like, whoa, I'm so far gone, but you have a proper understanding of what does it mean, Hashem, and connect to Hashem, and you do that, then you're like, on one hand, you're sad over, hey, where you're holding, but like, on the other hand, you're so happy, like, hey, I'm so gifted, I'm so blessed that I get to learn Torah, I get to dive into Hashem, I get to think about Hashem, I get to let my nefesh elikus get expressed a little bit. This then is the idea of the humble increase in the joy in Hashem, meaning that because the person's humility and selflessness, because of recognizing where he's holding, it allows him to increase in experiencing the joy of the godly soul. But if you feel you're good, so you're not going to work on yourself. I'm good. What do I need to work? But here we're saying it's fakir. When you recognize how not good you are by the nefesh Bahamas, then you push yourself even more to connect to nefesh Elokis. And this is, of course, this is the difference between bitterness and depression. If you're depressed, so that thought will just pull you down. We're not talking about depression. That's a whole different subject that we should have. What we're talking about is being bitter. Being bitter means I want more. And this is the recognition. You look at the situation that it's bad, but not that, it's bad, I'm all done for. We're talking about you have a mountain. You have to have that mountain, you have to have that ego. And that ego is like, hey, I want more for my life. I should be better than this. I shouldn't just give in to my nefesh Bahamas and not think about it. I should push myself. I should work myself. I should work on my relationships. Zeo Inyan Har Sinai, and this is also the reason why it's called Har Sinai. Yarda Sinna al Midas Arois, that the sinner, that the hatred fell on the evil characteristics, not evil character traits. Meaning, when we recognize we do something wrong, some people say, "This is who I am. This is me. Take it or leave it." But what we're saying is, Har Sinai is the sinner. You say, "I don't like this part about myself. I want to change this part about myself. It's not how I should define myself. It's not how I should be. I should be different than this." And that's the sinner they should have. And how does it come? It's through the Har Sinai, it's through the mountain. We have to be a mountain enough to say life should be better than this. I'm not selling myself for anything less than the best. And that counts as being a mountain. Aderech, like it says, Yargiz, Adam Yetzer Tov al Yetzer Hara. The person shows anger, the Yetzer Tov on the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Tov we should be unhappy. When we see we do something wrong, we shouldn't say, hey, whatever it is what it is. We should no, I'm better than this. I should be able to achieve more than this. Come on, let's push ourselves. And this is, is this where I'm going to hold myself? I'm always going to light candles in the last minutes. I'm always going to not daven properly. I'm always not going to wash nagavasa properly. I'm better than this. I can do more than this. I can daven. I'm always never going to daven with kavanah. I can daven with kavanah. And you have expectations of yourself. Not to cause yourself to be down, but to cause yourself to push yourself and to value yourself. Al derech, like it says, yeah. And this anger, who gamken hagbav is nasul sal yitzhara. This is that mountain over the yitzhara, and this is what we're meant to have. We're meant to have a mountain over yitzhara. Meant to have that ego saying, "Me." It's like a chassid said. We'll finish off tomorrow. The last little bit. It's like a chassid said, my ego saved me from yitzhara. Why? He goes, I'm a chassid. I can't do such things. It's past. It's not befitting of me to do such things. And that's what we're saying here. We should be able to have this mountain of self-worth that I'm above all these things. I'm better than this. I can do a lot more. I can achieve more. And this is not shaykh for me. And I can tell you from the little experience I have, when you do this and you transform, it's the way you look at yourself, the way you look at your situation, pushes you forward into a good direction, a lot of good things. And tomorrow we'll finish up. There's a nice little vart, the Rebbe, that he brings down, and the last line. We'll summarize it again, and we'll be nice and ready for Shavuos. And we'll come into Shavuos. We'll be thinking about us and the Har Sinai and us being a mountain, and the voice inside of us, and how we can deal with them, and how we can be happy, how we can overcome ourselves, and we can push ourselves and to achieve greatness. Mitzvah Hashem to be finished tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.